It's Wednesday, the 24th of August, 2022. Welcome to the Fast Five by Fear and Greed, where we give you the top 5 business stories you need to know in just 5 minutes. I'm Michael Thompson, and good morning, Sean Aylmer.
Good morning, Michael.
Sean, 5 stories, 5 minutes. Let's get going. Story number 1, we are heading for an inquiry into former Prime Minister Scott Morrison's decision to take on shadow roles as Co-Minister for Treasury, Finance, Resources, Home Affairs and Health. It is a heck of a list.
Sure is. Legal advice from the Solicitor General Stephen Donoghue found that the former Prime Minister was validly appointed, there was no breach of the Constitution, and he did not act unlawfully. But he also found that the principles of responsible government were fundamentally undermined. He said Parliament was unable to hold a minister accountable for their responsibilities if its members were not aware the minister had those powers. Now, following the advice, Anthony Albanese, the current Prime Minister, said Cabinet will decide on the nature of a new inquiry when Parliament sits again in September. He was at pains to point out that the advice made it clear Governor-General David Hurley acted on the advice of the government of the day, i.e., he's in the clear. Now, the Greens want Anthony Albanese's inquiry into Scott Morrison to have Royal Commission powers. That's unlikely. The Coalition, for their part, they agree that there should be an inquiry. Scott Morrison jumped on the advice to say nothing was illegal and the circumstances were extraordinary. He also said he would cooperate with any genuine processes, whatever that means. I think all in all, it was a fairly humbling day for the former Prime Minister, even if he didn't want to admit it.
Yeah, sounds like it. Story number 2, Sean, is actually kind of linked to story number 3 as well. And they're both a little bit about life returning to normal post-COVID. Story number 2, people returning to the pub post-lockdowns, has really helped deliver an 11% jump in earnings for Endeavour Group, which is the owner of 344 pubs, Dan Murphy's and BWS.
That's right. But it's a really interesting little story for Endeavour Group. That was split out of Woolworths 12 months ago. For the final 6 months of 2021, the liquor stores did really, really well and the pubs were dreadful. The next 6 months, so the 6 months to June, the pubs did really well and the liquor stores did really poorly. And in fact, investors are really worried that people aren't going to liquor stores as much, and Endeavour's share price ended up down 12% yesterday. So the question is, what are people drinking more of? Because they're certainly drinking more in the pub. And the chief executive, Steve Donoghue, came out yesterday. He said there's a trend towards discovering new drinks. Strong sales of spirits, get that. Ready-to-drink pre-mixed beverages, fair enough. Alcoholic seltzers, never had one. No alcohol beer and no alcohol wines. Certainly haven't had of those either.
You need to do some more exploration. Give a crack of the some of the no alcohol beers are actually really worth a try.
Moving on.
Oh, okay. Story number 3, as I said, is linked to story number 2. Obviously, you're not trying new things when you're drinking, Sean, but have you found yourself getting back into your Westfield Mall? Because apparently Centre Group, which owns Westfield malls across Australia, said that customers are back, foot traffic is growing.
That's right. So far in 2022, it's had about 277 million customer visits. It expects to hit 500 million for the full year. Now, according to Centre, which owns all the Westfield malls, specialty tenants are doing particularly well. The group itself made an operating profit of nearly $550 million for the 6 months to the end of June. Occupancy is at 98.8%. That's huge. It's fantastic for Centre and, of course, its shareholders. Its share price jumped 2% yesterday, among the best of the top 200.
Sean, story number 4, appliance maker Breville has always been one of your favourite stocks, and now it's posted record revenue.
I just love the idea of an Aussie manufacturer selling coffee makers to Italians. Isn't there something poetic in that?
It's lovely. It's a fantastic idea.
Most of the manufacturing at Breville is done in China, admittedly, but the design is local. That's what matters. Anyway, Breville announced a 20% jump in revenue to a record $1.4 billion. Its profit was up 16% as well. Breville's become a real global company. When I grew up, we had toasted sandwiches, and we actually called the toasted sandwich maker a Breville, the brand name. We was always known as a Breville. Well, it's much, much bigger than that. It's done really well overseas. North America is particularly strong at the moment, though Europe is somewhat slackening.
All right, last one. Story number 5, Sean. Bed Bath & Beyond has become the ultimate meme stock, with retailers ploughing in on the back of recommendations from bulletin boards. But its share price is now down 60% over the past 3 days. I think this one might need a little bit of an explanation as to kind of what a meme stock is and what on earth is going on here.
Well, a meme stock is basically a stock which is popular among retail investors, mums and dads, and they basically follow different bulletin boards which recommend stocks. There's no real rigor about those recommendations. People plough into them and then often sell out. Like in this case, Bed Bath & Beyond, it's fallen 60% in the past 3 days, primarily because the company's top investor, Ryan Cohen, bought into it. Share price went up. He then said he's selling out, which he did. The share price has tumbled, but Ryan Cohen in this instance made $68 million in profit from his foray into the group. The thing about these meme stocks, they go up really fast and they fall just as fast. Moral of the story, day traders beware.
All right, there we go. The top 5 business stories in 5 minutes. Thank you, Sean.
Thank you, Michael.
It's Wednesday, the 24th of August, 2022. Remember to hit follow on the podcast. And if 5 minutes isn't enough, you can find our longer daily show called Fear and Greed, wherever you listen to podcasts. I'm Michael Thompson, and that was the Fast 5 by Fear and Greed. Have a great day.